Yes, and our next speaker today in this session is Dr. Petr Topychkanov. He is a senior researcher at the Center for International Security, Primakov National Research Institute of World Economy and International Relations of the Russian Academy of Science. He is also an assistant professor at Moscow University, and he has also been working with CIPRI, which is a think tank in Sweden. But what is more important, that he can speak Russian, which he must because he's Russian, and English, and French, and Hindi, and Urdu.
Bahut shukriya, Mr. Chairman. I would like to start my presentation with my gratitude and thanks to Dr. Masuma Hasan for inviting me and bringing me to Karachi for this timely conference. And also, I want to say my words of thanks to the Institute and your super efficient team arranged this event. And thank you so much, Dr. Ansar Parvez, Chairman, for your command of this session. It's a great privilege for me to be in this session with my co-panelists. My presentation consists of three subjects. One of them is about what is the difference between previous years of nuclear coexistence in the world, why it's so dangerous and unpredictable situation now if to compare with previous time. The second is about technological advancement, and what is the change is connected to the technology in the area of nuclear deterrence and nuclear weapons and nuclear policies. And my third part will be about what are the recommendations, what are the ways out of this situation. Before 2022, media reports often highlighted South Asia as a region where a potential nuclear conflict may happen. However, the armed conflict in Europe has raised concerns about potential changes in the defense and security policies of many nations, and the situation has brought nuclear weapons-related issues to the forefront of international relations and security. And even worse, now we have a lot of reports about this or that country might and could and would consider nuclear use. Most recently, for instance, Russia, together with neighboring country Belarus, conducted military exercises when they trained a possibility of use of tactical nuclear weapons in the case of confrontation with Western countries. Along with increase in military spending, and it's huge, in 2021 it overcome $2 trillion, and mostly it's made by nuclear weapon states such as the United States, China, Russia, India, and others. Along with this military spending increase, also there has been a rise in nuclear threats. And what makes the current moment exceptional is the combination of the use of entire range of dual capable assets in regional conflicts, military spending increase, and also nuclear rhetoric coming from official and non-official sources. When an influential journalist, for instance, articulates a threat to eliminate an European capital with a nuclear strike, or when a congressman considers a nuclear bomb against Gaza, it's not just a responsible behavior, it's also very dangerous, because the nuclear signaling system between nuclear armed states isn't broken yet, but of course under the huge stress due to the political mistrust, political tension, and actual military conflicts in the world. Another reason of concern regarding the increased nuclear risk is a speeding up arms race and lowering level of use of force, including dual-capable systems and long-range drones. One of the outcomes of the ongoing armed conflict in Europe is that some weapons are considered more than not just tools for nuclear and conventional deterrence, but mostly as a battlefield weapons, including dual-capable platforms such as cruise missiles, heavy bombers, and long-range drones that can carry both conventional and nuclear weapons. During the conflict in Europe, we could see, for instance, that countries involved, Russia and Ukraine, used such capabilities against each other. And the use of dual-capable systems, missiles, for instance, in regional conflicts is a long-term strategic challenge, as seen in conflict in Yugoslavia, Iraq, Afghanistan, and the Russian special military operation in Ukraine is no exception. The cruise missiles challenge demonstrates, by the way, that the distinction between strategic and tactical weapons is artificial. And also in this connection, we should mention that also distinction between nuclear and conventional, between cyber and hardware weaponry, is more and more complicated. The problem becomes even more complicated, for instance, when Ukraine used long-range drones equipped with Western-originated navigation systems against airbase deep inside Russia's territory, where strategic bombers are permanently deployed. It was an example of how increased role of autonomous systems in strategic domain. And by the way, it was exactly the reason why Russia, after that attack, decided to suspend the New START treaty, the last treaty between the United States and Russia in the area of nuclear weapons limitations. This example perfectly shows that in the how interconnected world is, and regional conflicts are connected to strategic areas as well. Then developing nuclear command and control system and including autonomous solutions creates new hard questions. One of them, as it was discussed by my co-panelist, how to keep a human in the loop in nuclear command and control and in lethal military systems in general. The most recent attack on a humanitarian convoy in Israel revealed the increased role of such automation in military operations and very reduced role of operators. In some interview, an operator indicated that under the time stress and during the military operation, he has only just a second, it's of course longer than second, but few minutes just to approve suggestion from the algorithm to eliminate a target. And UN chief in response to these reports indicated how deeply troubled he was because of the fact that such systems are heavily used, even untested in military operation. Considering the nuclear risks associated with the use of dual-capable systems and nuclear rhetoric, it is crucial to confirm that There are no plans to use nuclear weapons in any armed confrontation, and it can be one of the possible solutions. Of course, it's not a solution to the current situation in the world, but it helps to decrease nuclear risks. During the ongoing conflict, it is crucial to have confirmation that the situation, for instance, in Europe, doesn't involve nuclear weapons. Such confirmation could be made through a bilateral, multilateral formats involving nuclear armed states and non-nuclear weapon states. It's also an important thing. It cannot be only a conversation between nuclear weapon states. As it was very clear in Europe after, for instance, Sweden and Finland joined NATO, this conversation should be should include non-nuclear weapon states as well. Additionally, the country should emphasize that nuclear weapons should serve as a means of deterrence rather than a tool for fighting wars. It was a long conversation most recently about low-yield nuclear weapons as a counterforce capabilities. And in the United States and in Russia, in other countries, there are programs in this area. So, but the idea is that still we need to confirm that there is a difference between nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons, it's a weapon that violates, as in use, a lot of laws against humans and humanity. That is why the idea should be that the nuclear weapons, it's not a battlefield weapon, but it's rather the weapon to deter, to have an effective deterrence against any possible attacks. A part of statements, what can be done? When the global nuclear arms control agenda has come under severe crisis due to mistrust and political tensions and so, there are at least 3 steps I would like to mention. The first is to support international infrastructure in the field of arms control. There are many instruments such as treaties, including the treaties about limiting weaponization of space, limiting use and testing nuclear weapons, and so on. And one of them is CTBT. CTBT, the treaty still should come into force, but just in this audience I would like to mention that despite the fact that Russia decided to de-ratify the CTBT, Russia remained a part of this document, and even in the time of de-ratifying the treaty, Russia opened another monitoring center. The monitoring centers of the treaty is one of the key instruments of observing international security in the area of preventing nuclear tests. Another good tool, different moratoriums. I know that Pakistan had many suggestions about moratoriums, and one of them, we are on the same page with Pakistan, I mean Russia and Pakistan. It's a moratorium on nuclear testing. But it should be reconfirmed again and again and again, unfortunately, due to most recent events. And I know that there is, for instance, a pressure on the circles around Donald Trump about resuming nuclear testings. There are strong voices in the United States against this idea. It means that we need to reconfirm in Russia, in the United States, in Pakistan, and India, that this moratorium is still relevant. So there is another moratorium that Russia articulated initially. It was about the moratorium of medium-range missiles after the INF treaty was killed during US-Russian and Russian-Western disputes about medium-range missiles. But unfortunately, what Russia considered most recently is that nobody followed this idea, And first of all, in the Western countries, there is a huge mistrust considering the Russian commitment not to deploy medium-range missiles in Europe. And it's very clear, because such moratoriums are difficult to believe without a strong verification mechanisms. And that is why we need to have a professional expert levels conversations on verification, how to keep them, how to develop them, how to develop them in the absence of treaties, with the absence of legally binding agreements between nuclear weapon states. But the problem is that even if in European part of Russia, till most recently, there were no deployed medium-range missiles, most recently we could see that the United States bring medium-range missiles to Asian region during military exercises. And it's a good example that proliferation of medium-range missiles, including by nuclear weapon states, and deploying them and bringing them to different regions, it's not only about Europe, it's a global issue. And again, it's a good demonstration that there is a strong connection between national, regional, and global levels. And this is my last point. The subject of my presentation was about global security. But for me, the question is, for instance, the Russian position is that Russia wants to have an undivided security in the multipolar world. So, but the question is how to create undivided, inclusive security, especially in the area of nuclear deterrence and nuclear weapons policy. Because we have different approaches. For instance, if we have an example of NATO alliance suggests an idea of exclusive security, so the security for member states rather than for the regions or areas. And it's not totally agreed.
5 minutes.
Yes, just a final point. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And it's not totally agreed even in Europe that it's the most effective way to deal with security challenges in Europe. So for us in this audience, it's for me, this is a huge question: how to build undivided security, considering national concerns as well. Thank you so much for your attention.
Very good. Thank you, Peter.